Hey Genesis, how you doing?
What's going on?
It's good. Like, entirely too much fun having these conversations when you and I talk. So yeah,
Mhm.
we got to keep it professional because we have 1 hour to get through this live stream and celebrate the Black women photographers that have submitted their work into the spaces we occupy Flickr Black Women Photographers Grant for this 2025 announcement. So we gotta keep it on the rails. So so before we start, how are you doing? How is life in the Genesis world?
You know what? It's good. I cannot complain whatsoever at all.
Yeah,
Like
not at all.
not at
Everything's
all.
good.
Cannot complain.
Everything's good. You know, Genesis. You obviously you were the winner of the 2024, or you were not the winner, the grant recipient of the 2024 grant. So how has that been for you since you received that? How have things changed in your photographic career?
Um, I would say for one, it was a total blessing,
Yeah.
unexpected. And I don't know if I shared this with you before, but it's like when I got that email, I was just like, oh wait a minute, I had to. I'm like, oh me.
They must have a different Genesis because
I'm
that's
like,
such a common name, right?
but I'm like, ever since then, it's just, I guess it sparked an even more bigger light up under my butt because I was just like, you know what? As long as you submit and you put yourself out there, the quote unquote the worst thing somebody could tell you is no,
Yeah,
and even
absolutely.
then, a no is just a delayed yes.
Yeah, yeah,
I Total blessing, complete blessing, and from then on, I've just been just applying myself and just showcasing what I love to do and my passion, and it's been amazing.
yeah. The no is always a just a learning milestone. You learn what to do differently next time to get closer to yes, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
And you can't take it. Sometimes you just can't take it personally. And sometimes you know what, it's not meant for you right then, but it's just preparing you for in the future.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So speaking of the future, I think talking about some of these award winners or the runners up and the winner or the recipient is in our immediate future. So you've seen the runners up, right? What are your overall thoughts on the submissions? Were you blown away? Were you disappointed? What did you think?
Honestly, first and foremost, it was amazing just to be able to go through and take that time to just look at the work that people have submitted. And even for me, it totally inspired me. And it's just like the things that people came up with. I'm like, oh my goodness.
It's inspiring. Yeah,
It
it's
really is.
inspiring.
I'm sitting there just like, oh my, oh my, like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, this
Yeah,
is,
in fact, as I was going through these Genesis, I was thinking of the name of the organization, Black Women Photographers, and I was thinking, you know what, they need to retool that name. It should be amazing photographers who happen to be black, right? So and female, right? Or you know whatever their gender is amazing photographers who happen because the whole thing is about photography and how you get there, you know, or
mm,
what's behind it is it's important, but the work, it's the art, it's the vision, it's you telling your story and your ability to tell that story effectively and get people to look at your photo and they're like, oh wow, this like you just said, this is amazing, and make you take a step back. That's what you're going for versus you know, leading with you know the descriptor. But let's dive in. So again, this is a Flickr. This is courtesy the powers at Flickr coming together with the powers of Black women photographers put together this program that allows this award to happen. It's been what this is the second year, I believe. The last year was the first. I believe it was the first. But this hopefully will be an ongoing thing. This is the 2025 recipient. You were the 2024 recipient, and maybe there'll be a 2026 recipient. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, with spaces we occupy. What do you think about the spaces we occupy topic? because I was when I think about spaces we occupy, I think for me it's this little room. This I call this my veal box, right? This is this is this is where they ripen me up. Uh, but I wasn't expecting what I saw in there. So now I feel like when I go out to shoot, I'm going to be thinking like this, like, and I'm pointing, like you can see where I'm pointing. I'm pointing at all the recipients on my other screen here,
Yeah.
but like that.
Like, write that
Yeah,
down right there.
yeah, yeah, like this first one. So tell me, I'm gonna let you run with this or a little bit. Tell me about the wonderful prize package that our that our main recipient receives. $5,000, right? Basically in
Uh-huh.
gear and all this other magic stuff to help the photographer create the art and show more of the spaces they occupy. You want to elaborate on that a little bit? What these people are getting?
So most important, the big whammy of it all is, five K to, to go towards and kind of like pour back into yourself. You're getting a 2-year membership with Flickr, SmugMug, and you're getting all these tools that you're going to be able to, not only progress your career, but also, maybe even be a blessing to someone else,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and just not having that. And I guess it's just taking that little bit off of you just to, be able to just truly dive into what you love to do, your passion, or it could be your job. And
Yeah.
this is just giving you the capabilities to, proceed with that.
Right, right. Yeah, no more of the or it takes away that excuse. If I only had that one lens, I could do this, this, and this. Or if I only had that camera, I'd be on top of
Mhm.
it. Just before we kick it off, there's one thing I want to throw in there is it's Flickr. I was having a conversation with a couple of friends of mine yesterday. We're talking specifically about Flickr, and it started with the whole is Flickr still around, and all that. And so I had to go in and explain the real thing, right? Yeah, yes, Flickr's still around and it's still the OG of photo sharing. And I even went so far as to say we should probably take that still out of there. Like as I always say, Flickr is still around. Flickr is still the OG in photography, but Flickr is just the OG in photography. For me, it's that platform that was built with photographers in mind, not necessarily likes in mind. So all the EXIF data, the community, there's a group for anybody you could possibly want to, or any genre or type of photography you'd want to get into, you can find other people doing that. So Flickr was instrumental in my beginnings, or yeah, basically the beginnings of sharing photos online. I think it started with Flickr as the only way to seriously share your images. So yeah, I just want to get that little plug in there because I'm a Flickr fan, and I think other people need to, if they still have Flickr accounts, to dust them off and log back in and see what's going on. If they don't, get one, because it doesn't cost you anything, and you can
It really
participate
does.
in these kind of things. So
You
let's
see,
start. Oh, go ahead, Jensen.
it's like, and you see, like they have like, different little like contests or like photo of the day, and I feel like it's just a little bit easier way of just sharing your work and connecting with others across the world. Honestly,
Yeah, yeah. And then people say, "Oh, well, there's Instagram, there's all these other ones." Yeah, those are different tools in the toolbox. I think Flickr is, correct me if I'm wrong, the only tool that is built specifically for the photographers from beginner, advanced amateur, all the way through to professional. It is for them, not for them to show their clients or for them to get likes, and that's their metric. It's about the art. It's the only platform that's still, and I use the word still, that is about the art. So
exactly.
with that, speaking of the art, our first runner up. You ready to dive into this first lucky person to be recognized?
Yes.
All
Um,
right. So our first person to be recognized is, let me find it here. Here we go. All right, it is Gabrielle Joseph. Look at this image. So, and remember, folks that are watching, the topic of the guidance for these photographers to adhere to was spaces we occupy, right? That was the loose topic. So with that in mind, keep that in mind as you look through these photos as we discuss them. So this first one, Gabrielle Joseph, and the the little sort of caption that I have that I want to share with you is that this photo is kind of, or the artist has written, this photo is the epitome of what I aim to capture with my camera. It's a raw, unprovoked, unaltered image of the Black experience and how beautiful it can be. So in this one, we're occupying the space of the Black experience in this, this all too familiar setting. What do you think of the shot? Or what do you think of the submission?
For me, it I feel like it just is one of those photos that truly kind of like embody, what the theme, and the theme was the spaces that we occupy, and it's just showing that in that moment it was just them in that space, even with all the extra, like people in the background. It could have been a festival, it could have just just them being in a park or whatever the case is, but it just feels like they were just them two in a singular moment.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I feel like it. Gabrielle just definitely chef kiss.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. It is, and I like the shot because it's more on the photojournalism side, the captured moments. And when I look at this, it reminds me of like a first date or something, And for me, as this one relates, and the reason this is one of the ones I picked too, because these all
Mm-hmm.
of these photos were picked by a group of people, right? I just had a little drop in that bucket of opinion, and my opinion on this one was it felt like a first date when the space you occupy, even though it's crowded, it's really only you two there, right? You two are occupying the space because everyone else is just kind of a blur or an NPC in the background to your focusing on this one person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's amazing. So then the next one, our next runner up is by let's see if I can pronounce this name correctly, Odochi Awani. Odochi Awani. You saw this shot, right?
Oh, I definitely saw this one.
So
Okay.
let's bring this one up here. Look at this one. So making hair. So is the title of this one, making hair. So Odochi says, when I think of spaces I occupy, I think of community and vulnerability. Hair holds deep cultural significance in Black communities, especially women. Something we commiserate over, share tips about, and navigate together, shaped by both personal choice and societal beauty standards, whether natural or relaxed. And I'll let the folks that are viewing this go to the gallery and read the rest of these longer captions. But I wanted to get your thoughts a little bit on this shot before we move on to the next one.
I feel like in general within our culture, you know, being hair is huge because we bond over going to the beauty shop or to the barber and talking, and then especially if you have like your family members or that special moment between like your mom, your aunt, your grandmother, and having that moment of doing your hair, which is such an intimate moment in that space. It's just it speaks volumes without even words having being said.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I again chef kiss.
Yeah, chef's kiss. Yeah, it's the barbershop, right? For the men, it's the barbershop, aka therapy, aka commiseration hall, all that. And I'm very familiar and I'll go out on a limb, Black women's hair because even though I don't have it, my mom and my sister were both cosmetologists,
Mm.
and I used to listen to them complain about customers all the time,
I grew
and
up I grew up being with that hot iron on the kitchen stove, and you
yeah,
can smell it, and my mama talking about it's just the steam. I'm like, no, you burnt me.
that's right.
Like,
That's right. You burn, yeah, yeah. Burning hair is not a great smell. Try burning hair in the house with chitlins cooking on the stove.
oh, you can have that. Ooh.
That is a unique smell. I was gonna say. Have you ever experienced that? But yeah, it's I was a fan of this shot as well because it what I initially when I looked at this shot I wasn't a fan of it right? Because of the obscure the two posts in the foreground obscuring the background. It's like why not get a little closer? And then of course I understood. Okay, the artist is encapsulating this space. You know, they wanted to put something between the viewer and the subject to kind of say, okay, there, where they sit, and then the lady getting her hair done in there, that expression. I know that expression. It's just
That's
I
about
am not in control of the situation, right? So, yeah, and I hope it comes out right. That's the other reason. I hope it comes out right.
not for real.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right, and so congratulations. And I know I'm butchering her name, Odochi Awani. I hope I got that right. Odochi Awani. Congratulations. You are a
Congrats.
runner-up in the Spaces We Occupy Flickr and Black Women Photographers grant. The next one is Allie Truman. Before I bring this up, I'm going to read the caption before I bring this up, just so that, and I'll stop sharing for a second. There we go. Okay, so I want to read this caption before I bring it up because this one was particularly striking for a couple of reasons. So the caption says, "This image captures a young black girl walking along the rocks of a creek, immersed in the quiet freedom of nature. It reflects both the physical space and an untouched natural environment and the symbolic space of black childhood, often constrained by societal expectations. And the creek represents a place of exploration and possibility where she can move freely, unburdened by the world's gaze." So let's take a look at this image because we got to talk just a couple minutes of this one. I'm being cognizant of time because we want to try to keep this to an hour, but these photos deserve a discussion. So let's see. There we go, right here. Okay, so this one. So when I first looked at this shot, I was like, okay, because I'm looking at it with a very, I guess maybe a Hollywood movie kind of idea in my head of what a photo should be. It should be crisp, it should pop, it should have contrast, it should have motion, you should be applying the rule of thirds. And where are these foreground rocks in there? You got to take those out of there. And where's my subject? Maybe I should have cloned out all those people in the background, right? So then I took another look at it and I said, no, all those things are correct because I'm looking at the shot and without the people in there, it would have been a completely different shot. For one, because this would have been a person in solitude walking the beach without other people around, without feeling the gaze of the world upon you, right? And
Mhm.
then the second thing of it is just the composition. So we've got the composition. Our subject is nearly in the center of the frame, but not in the center. The center of the frame is usually, unless you're going for symmetry in photography, is usually we try to avoid that as photographers. Usually, depending, right?
Yeah.
You try to skew the subject off to one of the rule of thirds corners or something. But nearly in the center on this one works, and our subject is walking into the frame. So I get that the caption really helps sell the shot, right? Because it tells me what's going on and it brings me into it. I'm really curious if this shot moved you, and if so, why?
This quite honestly, this is one of my favorites.
Mm,
I'm impartial black and white, but that's neither here nor there. But this was one of my favorites just because of, I guess, just the idea of just black culture, black history, and what water means to us. What being able to go to places like this and being free enough to step in these areas and having this moment to yourself because even though it's around about maybe other people around, it just seems like it's just a singular moment with with this child, and they're just enjoying this
yeah.
because childhood and it goes so quick, and you never know what tomorrow might bring, and it's just like in that moment of just being like, you know what, I'm gonna enjoy this.
Yeah.
So this is I love it.
I feel like looking at this, it makes me a little depressed because I don't feel like I get moments like this anymore. I don't feel, especially in the digital world. I mean, we might get, we may be alone in our rooms or, on our computers or scrolling whatever, but just like these kind of moments, I used to be, going out riding your bike, exploring a creek, that kind of stuff. I need to reintroduce that stuff back into my world. So, Ellie Truman, as the runner up for this shot, thank you for sharing this. Amazing. Amazing. All right, let's move on to our next one. Our next one is Toby Soowale.
Woo,
Toby Soowale. I know you saw this shot. So,
woo.
look at this. Here we go. Look at this shot. So, let me share this screen real quick.
With y'all to see this one.
Yeah, you got. Yeah, I'm a fan. So Toby did a good job on this one. Okay, let's bring it up here. Okay, so this shot, Hallelujah, is the title of the photo. And he said, Toby, they say this photo is from the CNS Church in the United Kingdom. Project captures the act of worship in the context of Cherubim and Seraphim Church, uh, a church founded in Nigeria in 1925. And the artist says it highlights the personal and communal spaces that shape the lives of its young members in the diaspora. Yeah. So I have my own thoughts on this shot. I'm gonna let you go first. I don't want to lead the witness.
I mean, for me, it's powerful because a church in general within itself is just such a monumental and just kind of like it's just full of history and just culture and just being able to capture this moment where of in my opinion in this moment of praise and worship and it's kind of freeing because
Hmm.
like I said, you don't get moments like this all the time. And again, church in our culture has always been very important because that was the one true space we could just be free and worship how we want to worship without someone telling us how, why, when, and where. So
Correct.
this to me, in my personal opinion, this image is extremely powerful.
Yeah. Everything you said, plus I would add on to that this shot, especially the perspective. Looking at this shot, the perspective of it, which is kind of low. It reminds me sitting in the church pews as a kid with shoes that hurt. because and sitting down and all the adults standing up every 5 minutes and me being frustrated, like, oh, they gotta stand again? Like, come on. Is it time? Is it time for lunch yet? I remember that, as a
I'll be
young
looking
kid.
like, all right now.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, great shot though. On its technical merits. Look at the contrast to this one and the use of, obviously they're there capturing what was already there, but the white and the red, it's almost a monochromatic image with that pop of red. And the back on, I'm guessing that's the pastor in the middle, the hand on the back of the pastor or behind the pastor, almost like the person is encouraging them to keep saying whatever the passages they're saying right now or whatever they're doing. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
powerful. Like Genesis, I don't know what you think, but these kind of shots and a lot of shots, I think in the future, it is the future, Frederick, nerd talking. In the future, just like audio, just like some ambient sound. I love this shot just like this. In the future, man, imagine if you could hear a little bit of that congregation, the murmur or the
Mhm.
excitement, a little bit of the ambient sound of what it felt like to be there. It's a couple seconds. I want to. Hopefully, we can do that. Maybe the Flickr team can add that into the Flickr platform, so in the future we can, have still photos that have a little bit of audio with them. That would add a little salt on top of the dish.
Little
So
lotteries on there.
it's a little,
Little
yeah,
lotteries.
a little Laurie seasoned salt in it, just a little bit, just to make it pop. This one doesn't need it though. This one stands on its own without any kind of assistance. Toby did a great job on this. So yeah, congratulations, Toby, on this one. But I mean, this next one, let me bring this one up, is by Kimberly Coleman, and let me share it before I just start discussing. So here we go. So Kimberly Coleman is this runner-up, And Kimberly says, for the same spaces we occupy, or for the theme spaces we occupy, I chose an image that encapsulates a period when all of us were compelled to remain within a singular space for an extended time. Confinement can often teach us something. During COVID, I learned a lot about myself, my family, and the ways which the three of us occupied our home and our bodies, how we showed up for work, each other, and for ourselves. So this one's all about showing up, right? Do you remember this? You remember being locked
Mhm.
in, either by yourself or with another person, your
Yeah,
cellmate during COVID, right?
my mother.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. Yep.
I
Does
was
this does this capsule does this encapsulate how you felt about that?
honestly it did because we both were working from home at the time, and she had her desk. I was sitting on the couch, or I was sitting at the kitchen table, and just low key just trying to stay level headed and just figuring things out,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just still trying to have my own space without interrupting hers, and vice versa. And this one really, I feel like encapsulates that, the spaces that we occupy, even if if we're confined to just one space,
Mm-hmm.
one
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, the title of this one is 2020, obviously right in the middle of all
Mhm.
that craziness. And I remember that too. Like I could look at this image and look at that woman, the face on the woman in the foreground, and think she's probably thinking this person in the background is getting on my last nerve. Right? We got to get out of here. This is not working. I just I need this thing needs to be over. That's what she feels like. This COVID thing needs to be gone because, yeah, I remember that. Even in large spaces when you're trapped with people, trapped or, enjoying the time
Mhm.
forcibly with other people, it can get taxing. Yeah, this photo, look the other side of it. If she's the positive side, if she's not thinking this person's getting on my last nerve, she may be thinking, you know what, this is the perfect time to launch a new business. Let me work out some of the financials of what that might look like. So try to build those narratives in your head of where this might be going or might have gone. So good shot though. And this was Tyro, if I'm pronouncing the name right. Tyro Zim. Help me with that last name, Genesis. Help me with the last name. I'm trying not to butcher it. I
I
don't want
don't
to
want
say
to
it.
be disrespectful to this person's
I'm
name.
gonna I'm gonna go right. Okay, okay. Ty, Ty, Tariro, there we go. Tariro Zenymba. Tariro Zenymba. Now, Tariro, please comment on this photo on Flickr. Let me know if I got your name right. But congratulations. Actually, that is not the right one. I'm sorry. That's the next one coming up. I'm so ahead of myself. That was Kimberly Coleman that's on the screen right now, obviously. I'm looking at the next one that you guys can't see yet. So Kimberly Coleman is the this photo that you're looking at right now. This photo is the one that I was talking about right here. So let's bring that up. There we go. Okay, just took it a minute to come up. Okay, so this one is Tyriro Zenyemba. I think I got it right. Tyriro Zenyemba. So this shot is titled, yeah, it's Root. It's for spaces we occupy, but reroute and reroute. Get it? Reroute and reroute. So and their caption is, foolishly I'd sworn that I was never going to move back into my parents' home, especially after my father's passing, but life had other plans for me. Like many, I overlooked how lucky I was to have a place to fall back on when times get hard. Home with my mother. Moving back home felt like the ultimate betrayal to myself, and as if my world got even smaller since I was moving from city to a small town. So that what a good caption, right? So you feel like you're regressing. So the artist is attempting to capture that feeling of regression and solitude in this what they perceived as a backstep. I don't perceive that as a backstep at all. I perceive that as using the resources available to you at the time to get to where you want to get. So that is not a backstep. Sometimes we got to take a couple steps back to get momentum to jump over a hurdle or an obstacle. right?
Exactly.
You can't keep running looking left and right. Sometimes you got to stop and step back and then go and get further than you would have if you just tried to keep running because society said you had to, or your own personal biases said you had to keep going. So congratulations on this one, to Rero. This is a great shot. And they moved from a city back to a small town. I want to know where this is. Like, what's the small town and what was the city? I'm really curious now, especially considering the name as an African-sounding name. So I'm wondering if this is someplace on the continent of Africa or if it's somewhere else. All right. Do you have any thoughts you want to share on this shot before we move on?
Honestly, this just reminds me because at some point, even I had to go back home, and live with my mom for a while to, to reground myself and to help propel myself forward. And just the fact that the person, the subject being like kind of like it's like a silhouette, but you still have that. It's like the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's just again another chef kiss.
Yes, yeah, and being at peace with it too, because the person in the photo looks like they're at peace with their decision, at least,
Mm-hmm.
sitting there with a cup of tea and a book. What an analog kind of, you know activity. I love that. It's so weird, it's an analog activity, and we're discussing it in this high tech forum. We're streaming, and you're in Chicago, I'm here in California. We're talking about somebody who was who knows where when they shot the shot, and then the shot itself is decidedly analog. And another runner-up in the spaces we occupy, Flickr grant. So really good. This is the part of photography that I enjoy. Is just I enjoy most of it or all of it, but from a podcaster online person standpoint, having conversations like this about work of other artists makes everybody grow. Everybody having the people having the conversation, in this case you and I, and the artists getting our thoughts on their image, and the audience that is maybe experiencing the shot for the first time and
Mm-hmm.
giving more views to this artist. So yeah, it's a win-win all around. And this grant is a huge win. Okay, so moving on to our next runner-up, which is Shakira Hunt. And another interesting shot. I'm gonna let you go first on this. I'm curious what you will say about this first. So here we go. This is Shakira Hunt. Let me give you a little bit of the caption. The spaces we occupy are not just physical. They're also the spaces where love, care, and legacy live. This image recreates a childhood memory of my grandmother and me, an intimate ritual of care where I applied shea butter to her back each morning before school. What once felt routine now holds deep meaning. It reminds me that care is reciprocal and that softness is an inheritance that we occupy safe spaces with loved ones to both give and receive love. This photograph honors the ways Black women create and sustain spaces of tenderness, healing, and belonging. So, wow. So she recreated a memory. That's something I never even considered doing as a photographer, and I think I've rarely seen it done. I've seen people recreate memories of other photographs or be inspired by situations, events, or images or whatever, and then try to create it, but not like, okay, this is how I remember it. There was that picture on the wall, the bedspread looked like this, grandma was sitting on that side of the bed, I was over here, and then you put that together from your own memory and recreate it. That's really powerful and really well done. Yeah.
This for me, this image is powerful just because it reminds me of you know uh, the relationship I had with my grandmother, and I kind of did something similar to this, but the only difference was that my grandmother had dementia, so I placed her with pictures of her, like my grandfather and people that she will remember in that snap of a moment she remembers. So seeing this reminds me of that, and it's extremely powerful because again, when we have moments like this that we can not only express ourselves creatively, but also express ourselves in a way of recreating moments, we have to grasp on. We have to hold space for that and take that time because
Yeah.
time goes by so quickly that what we never know when we might be able to do this again. So
Yeah.
this alone, Shakira Chef Kiss, power, freaking powerful. I love it.
Yeah. I agree, and I'm just the idea of recreating memories is blowing me away because I'm having ideas now. Because this one, this is her grandmother, and it makes me think of my grandmother and one memory that I had. We've got lots of memories of each of our grandmothers, but I had this memory of her. She's very old when I was young, right? I think I was like 9 or 10, and she's already in her 80s. So
Mhm.
she was just like, it was scary to me. Like, wow, people look like that. I remember thinking those kind of when I was a kid. I was like, wow. But we were close, and she lived with us for a while. And I remember I was the one of five of us because I'm from a family of five. I'm the youngest, and I was the one that got tasked with emptying her. Uh, I'm trying to gross people out, but her spittoon because she used to dip snuff. So I had to go to the bedroom and take it and get rid of it and return with a clean one all the time. Traumatizing to this day, right? So,
You
but
never
the
had to go
stories that yeah, the stories that she told me during those times when I got to hang out with her for that little bit of time, just priceless. They were priceless stories. They didn't mean anything at the time, but now they do. And to the thought of recreating that is kind of interesting. Like Shakira did in this shot, kind of interesting to recreate something that's personal only to you and see if it resonates with others. So very, very good. And congratulations, Shakira. This is a really, really interesting shot. And you look at the shot in depth. If the artist hasn't just snapped a shot. We've got a little bit of motion going on. With the representation of Shakira on the bed applying the shea butter. There's a little special kind of a double exposure thing going on in there. So yeah, yeah, this is really really good. I love the tonal. What they did kind of with the washed out feel of the shot, but it
Mhm.
feels old a little bit because you put the little white border on there to bring us back to the time when you ordered prints and they came with white borders. So really really
Oh,
good.
your whiteboard, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, or borders. Period. Just to kind of capture the work. All right, so moving on to our next runner-up. This one is Marissa McDowell. Marissa McDowell. So let's bring Marissa up. All right, let's come on. There it is. Okay, so while you were gazing your eyes on this, let me just read the caption real quick. Marissa says, I'm a music photographer and I find inspiration in not only shooting some of the world's most talented musicians at the height of their craft, but also the fans and concert goers who are fully in the moment at the shows. If you look out into the crowd during concert, you can see so many beautiful moments of joy and celebration. This particular photo was at Tiana Taylor's The Last Rose Petal tour, and I managed to capture this moment of one of the many fans in the front row. It's been one of my favorites for the last few years. Yeah, turn around, right? You know, if you're shooting something on stage, look to your left, look to your right, because a lot of times the best photos and the best emotive photos are right next to you, and not on stage where everyone else is pointing their cameras, like in this shot. Yeah, what did you think about this one?
I feel like when you go to like concerts and stuff like that, people who do like concert photography, they're they move so quick, and just to be able to capture that moment alone, I'm like it's a lot because you never know what this person could have what they had to do to get there, just to be able to see somebody that that they probably adore and love, and they're just so encapsulated with just joy, and it's like in that moment probably peace too, just because they're like, wow, I'm finally here. I can finally go see Tiana and have this moment to myself. And she just looked so full of joy, even in a crowd full of people, and just I
Yeah.
love it. I really do.
Yeah. And that's that feeling I think Marissa did a really good job capturing is just that feeling of uh happy, right?
Mhm.
So you could look at someone that's happy and kind of see that okay, they're happy, but there's a little bit of not so happy behind, or if it's fake happy or if it's whatever, right? This shot looks like genuine joy. This person is really happy to be there, seeing this artist and hearing that music. Really good, really good. Makes me wanna be there, and I guess that's what it's all about, right there.
Mad I couldn't go.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. All right. Our next runner-up is Rita Harper. Let me bring Rita's shot up. Rita Harper, congratulations, first of all. And here's the shot. So Rita Harper says, for the past year, I've been taking the Amtrak train, oh, something I want to do, taking the Amtrak train around the country, and it has been meditative, reflective, and educational. I've occupied spaces on these railroads, on these same trains that my ancestors occupied during the Great Migration. Trains carried us from the lush greens of Mississippi to new opportunity waiting in Chicago. From the red clay of Georgia, the new promise of hope waiting in New York. I am occupying space and navigating the same trails that many of my family members scattered in different regions of the country. And this artist says, for this project, I've also been interviewing and photographing Amtrak conductors and learning about the spaces they occupy. I hear tales of life on the rails and what it's like to hold space in a world that feels so nostalgic. Yes, right? One of the last few types of transportation that's still kind of basically the same as it was when we grew up, right?
Mhm.
It's not changing a whole lot, not yet, until some entrepreneur gets an idea to revolutionize train travel somehow. But until then, we're right here with the conductors and all that. Look at the detail on this conductor, like what the personality of somebody. This looks like somebody that has been doing this job for a while. They put that stuff on in the same spot. They say hello to the same, people at work. Yeah, all of that. What do you think?
And the thing is, and when I see this picture, because I work around trains, and these conductors, you only got them around about 30 seconds. So for them, for Rita to be able to capture this moment, and the person allowing them to capture this moment and capture them, probably, and then just probably as soon as they hit that shutter, they gotta keep it moving, because
Yeah.
they don't hold, they don't. Amtrak and Metro trains, they don't wait for you. If you ain't on it when they say 5 minutes, they gone. So it means this. I feel like for me, this picture means a lot, because there was a lot of there was time taken, you know, and them just being in that vulnerable state of being like, okay, cool, I'm gonna let you take my picture. Even though I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna have to go yell at somebody to get their behind back on this train if they coming, but I'm gonna allow you this moment, this space to
Yeah.
do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it also illustrates how the camera is a passport for photographers to enter different worlds and to have conversations with people that they, like you said, 30 seconds, right? Just a couple seconds. They ordinarily would just have a brush with in real life. Now they can have a real conversation and make a great image and share that person's world, at least a bit of it, with a lot of other people. This image also, in the caption specifically, spoke to me because my brain has kind of been on this personal project bent, from a photography standpoint, where a lot of the interviews that will be coming out on the podcast, on the This Week in Photo podcast, are with photographers who are talking about how important it is for you to assign yourself projects like this, right? Where it's not, oh, I got a client that says they want me to come to their restaurant and do A, B, and C, or I'm doing portraits and I'm going to go over there and do these for those people. It's the art of using your craft for you to tell things that are personal to you, and through that, getting better as a photographer, because you're photographing things and telling stories with your camera and your lens. And these projects they don't necessarily, a self-assigned project doesn't necessarily have to be a one and done. Like, I'm going to go out and take pictures of red flowers today and then I'm done with that. It could be, I'm going to take pictures of red flowers for the next 2 years and build a gallery of just the red flowers that I came in contact with, just using it as a random example. But things like that, or like this conductor, doing a series of conductors, or doing shots of particular kinds of whatever things that you enjoy, doing a series on that exposes that to other people is, I think, really important, versus the not versus, but in addition to
Mhm.
doing one-off kind of beautiful shots, right? So it's another way of thinking about photography as a group of shots versus one shot, right? So congratulations to Andrea Bailey, who is going to be our next one. That was Rita Harper with the conductor shot. And our last runner up is Andrea Bailey. And I'm sad that I gotta stretch this out because I feel like I'm having a good time. This is
Oh, look, 'cause I love doing stuff like this. Like this is just to sit and and talk about people's work and and hold the space and and have that sense of community is
hmm
huge.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
love doing this stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we move on there, we've got a lot of people in the chat here. Yeah, absolutely. Look at that. There are more people in the chat than the software that I'm using can count. So there's a lot of people in there chatting. Thanks everybody for coming in and hanging out with us and sharing your thoughts. Mackenzie from the Flickr team is in there holding it down. Thank you, Mackenzie, for popping in there and making sure everybody's happy. Yeah, this last shot that I'm going to bring up, I'm going to stop the share for a second so we can pontificate about this winning image for a second. Let's bring it up on my screen. So this was uh, oh, wait. I'm sorry. I did something wrong here. Okay. We are not on that one. We are still on Andrea Bailey. I did not bring her shot up yet. Let me bring that shot because I was thinking of. So here's what I was thinking. So full transparency, I'm sitting here. I've got two monitors up. I'm looking at Andrea Bailey's shot, and I remember just being immersed in this photo that I'm about to bring up on the screen. I was immersed in it from the standpoint of looking at it from a spaces we occupy perspective, from a compositional perspective, from a use of geometric shapes in an image, the rule of thirds in an image, from you using silhouette in an image. So all that just to kind of lead up to the shot. So I'm going to bring this up, and I would love your thoughts on it as well as folks that are watching this. So here it is. Look at the shot. So so you look at the shot and again keep spaces we occupy in your head. So I look at this shot and I think, wow, this is a grand location. Obviously, I mean we don't even know how high the ceilings are. This is just me without reading the caption yet, right? So we don't even know how high the ceilings are in this, but it's emotional from the perspective of the solitude of it, where it feels like if you go in here you're going to hear echoes if you go into this area. And the person that's in the photo is intent and focused on what they're doing despite this grandiose surrounding around them, kind of taking it for granted a little bit, right? But it's all illustrated. It's illustrated in a way that my eye goes directly to the person in there, even though they're one of the smallest components of the shot. So yeah,
Mhm.
it kind of sucked me into it. Let me read this caption, and then we'll get your thoughts on it. So Andrea Bailey says this photo. It says my photo is about how we exist in different spaces at once, physically, emotionally, and through history. The original Coventry Cathedral was destroyed during World War II while the world fought fascism, and that history feels especially relevant now, or that history feels especially relevant now. Being there in the rebuilt space felt heavy with memory. Then I saw an art piece from my hometown of Cincinnati, not in the photo, but close by. It reminded me of how our stories travel with us, even though it was just me and the organist playing an organ. I felt connected across time and space, standing in a moment that held a lot more than just him, uh, the hymn he gently played. So yeah, look at that. So again, remember what I was saying earlier about, man, wouldn't it be cool with a little ambient sound in there? A
Mhm.
little bit of that, a little bit of what this person's playing on that organ would bring us a little bit more into it. But even without that, or without that period, it's a powerful image, especially now that we read the caption. We know this is a cathedral and this is this organist's spot, right? This is where they go to do their thing. What do you think? What were your thoughts? I know you like the black and white because you love black and white. So.
I, because for me, it's a very powerful image because you got the organ is dead center in the middle, but you also have all these like different like these leading lines and how symmetrical, how even though you can only make out the silhouette of the person, and then it's like you got the window in the background giving probably the only main source of light there is in that space. And then even if you go even deeper into the image, you can see the people like in the back outside and the buildings outside. It's just from a composition standpoint and from a story standpoint, image can speak 1,000 words, and
Yeah.
this is saying a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. This is saying a million words. Yeah, this is really good. This is one I'd love to see printed,
Yeah.
or even as part of a series. Like we're talking about, images sometimes can tell stories better with a group of other images around it. This one stands on its own. Obviously, it's a runner up in this event, but I would love to see the other images around it that kind of tell us what the surroundings look like and put this person kind of in place there. So.
Hmm.
Really, really cool. So congratulations, Andrea. This is a really good shot. One of my favorites. One of my favorites. Um, all right, so let's stop the share here, and we're. Are you ready? You ready for the grant winner, number one? The
I'm ready.
drum roll.
Let's go. I'm over here boiling over at this point.
That's the whole point, you know.
All
Is
right.
it's anticipation. You got to build the anticipation. Yeah,
I
and
feel like
then
I'm
this is
tired, and I'm just like, oh.
so this moment right now is when you were last year like, wait, what? I won, you know? So
I was just like, shut the front door and lock it. I'm playing.
like
Oh,
make like a shepherd and get the flock out of here, right?
just close it. Just wow. I'm just goofy, silly, and dramatic as it is. So me doing, being able to do something like this is just like ah ah. Like
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, this is good. This is what it's all about. This next shot I'm looking at has a lot of it speaks to me in a lot of ways, particularly because my all of my family was here this past week visiting, and it was very much like the photo I'm about to bring up, the sort of anarchy, and you could sort of feel the joy all the time, and that magic that happens when you get people together and they occupy a space with you. It was kind of that feel. So let's bring it up first. Let me congratulate our winner here. Um, Let me bring this up real quick. Yes. Okay. So here we go. Let me read the caption first because this one is important before you see the image. So the caption is, "This image is a tribute to Carrie Mae Weems' work, capturing the joyful chaos of life in a large family. In the photo, I am seen on the right, smiling, surrounded by my children and our cat, and all vying for my attention." So I'm going to stop that caption right there and then bring it up and read the rest. So here we go. So all vying for my attention. Through the technique of double exposure, I show myself and my children in different corners of the room, symbolizing constant motion of family life and the fleeting nature of time. This piece reflects the spaces we occupy, those that are filled with love, noise, and the inevitable transitions as children grow up and eventually leave the home. Amen. This is all, my whole last week was about that. And this one's from Eleanor Menga. Congratulations. This is our winner. This is the 2025 grant winner, Eleanor Menga. Congratulations on this shot.
wow.
Genesis, take us there. What are your thoughts on this?
First of all, let's just talk about the technique of double exposure and how within itself of doing that can be kind of complicated because you have to expose for one thing and then expose to something else and then layer it on there and compose the image correctly and there's so many moving parts now. You're adding in with people and position it like, and then just the image itself is like, and when done correctly, and no, I wouldn't even say correctly, when done in the way that can truly tell a story without you actually having anything to say about the image, this is what you get.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is literally this is what you get. So,
Yeah.
Eleanor, I congratulations. This is amazing. I want to print.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty big, pretty big.
Big.
Yeah, yeah. The shot. Yeah, like Mackenzie in the chat is saying, the shot and the story behind it, meaningful, right? And probably meaningful in different ways to different people that are looking at it. For me, obviously, come from a big family, part of a big family still. This resonates on a number of levels. The shot resonates with me on a number of levels. But then on the photography side, when you look at it, like you mentioned, the multiple exposure technique that Eleanor used to execute this shot, it goes to the idea that there are so many techniques and tools that are available to photographers to tell the stories, to tell the
Mm-hmm.
stories that they want to tell. You don't have to use them all. You don't have to use any of them. You just take photos and just do the quote traditional thing of exposure. Making sure you get the exposure correct, and make sure you got your composition and all that stuff, and then rule of thirds, and you kind of got a shot. But when you start using all these different tools and superpowers that you can to really illustrate what's going on in your mind's eye and communicate in the photo to other people, then you have superpowers. I did some talks a while ago on this kind of photography. I call it time travel. This is very much time travel, where your camera is your time machine, and with it you can stretch time, you can compress time, you can take a slice of time and do things with just that slice of time. It's what it's all about. Photographers are literally, time travelers for the most part, or librarians, time traveling librarians or something, where we can take time, manipulate it to create a memory or a memory bookmark, and have people instantly, when they see that photo, travel back to that point where you took that photo and be in that again if they were there, right? Or be somewhere else that the photo reminds them of. So, Eleanor Manga, congratulations! You knocked it out of the park. Yeah. So, all right, Genesis. With that, I'm going to stop our screen share, and I just want to talk a little bit before we end this about the Black Women Photographers Organization overall, right? Well, of which you are a part of.
Yeah.
So before we end this, and for the people that are watching this and that may want to participate in next year's competition, if there is one, or next year's grant, if Flickr chooses to do one, what's the organization about? Black Women Photographers, and how did they hook up with Flickr?
um,
Tell
this,
as much as you know. I know you're a member, right? So,
so
or here's a better way to position the question, right? Here's a better way to position it. How has the Black Women Photographers organization helped you as a photographer?
for one, it helped me, because I can be kind of in my own box, in my own space.
Hmm.
And it's crazy to say that being a photographer, where it's most of that is just putting yourself out there and putting your work out there. So BWP has, been instrumental as far as, what connected me with other people, and, I, interacting with other photographers, and, gaining those connections, or gaining those relationships, because I'm like, I've met some amazing people that I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have because of, how I can be sometimes. You know, but being in that and having those spaces and putting myself out there, BWP has been, helpful with doing that. And then with Flickr is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
It's super simple just to, to just upload your, your work without all the lines connected to it, and just having your work being viewed on the platform by a little bit of everywhere, and you don't have to, it's not as stressful as other sites might be.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't try and comp you down just to, one size. You can just truly just share your work, and it really be its authentic self.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. If I was to boil Flickr down into kind of what I personally think is the what we in marketing would call the value proposition of
mm,
Flickr, it would be, of course, photography and all that, right? But even more than that, I think it's the community and the support system from photographers that are like you because you've picked, you're a member of groups that are submitting and uploading photos that are in the kind of photography that you like to do. So you can instantly find your people, right? Your little micro tribe in there and put your work in there and get ideas or get compliments or whatever, or even negative feedback on your work so that you can become a better photographer. So it's about the community side of it. And the community, I think, is so important in the art form or the hobby, all of the above of photography, because it helps the photographers get better. The only way to get better is to get feedback from other people that know what they're talking about. Maybe some from people that are just viewers because they're looking at it at face value or looking at your work at face value, but getting substantive feedback from other people that are doing similar things to you is invaluable versus, okay, I'm going to put it up here and I got a lot of comments and a like or a heart or whatever on it, so maybe they like that, so let me do more of that thing. This is for people that are serious about their art to some degree. All right, you want to get in there, you want to get better, you want to put photos up there, you want to share them, you want to, all of the things. So yeah, I think Flickr's important for photographers, and obviously Flickr has an ear towards, or an eye towards, doing and supporting these kinds of initiatives like Black women photographers, et cetera, et cetera. So Flickr is not just helping photographers walk the walk. Flickr is also talking the talk about, the world of photography and how important it is, and how we all can sort of make the world a better place using the power of photography. So,
Exactly.
and that's where it is. So we'll leave it right there. Genesis Falls, thank you once again for coming on. It is always a huge pleasure having a chat with you. I'm coming to Chicago soon, like I told you. I'm still coming. We are hanging out. I'll let you know when I'm coming. See, I didn't come. I didn't come this last time. I'll wrap this up. People want to hear this. I didn't come this last time because Chicago came to me. All my family came out here, so I didn't have to go.
Um,
So it's
all
my
you gotta
turn.
do is let me know when. I'm not doing nothing except working and doing my and working on my work. So
Okay, I will. I'll definitely hit you up when I get
give me a
when I know my itinerary.
reason.
Yeah, right.
Give me a reason.
All right, we'll leave it there. Genesis, if people want to follow you, if they want to keep up with you, see what you're working on and what you did with your 2024 grant, where should they point their web browser?
You can definitely. I'm gonna put it in the chat. You can definitely look me up on Instagram. That's my Instagram right there. I will also probably like later on I'll post like a link to like my Flickr account that I post, some of my work on there as well. But
Mhm.
hey, anybody, you're more than welcome to hit me up, inbox me. I'm all My DM is always open and available to to be of service. And if you have questions or anything like that, I love to just talk and just be community based and help others.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, thank you for directing your community pace focused powers at this live stream. I think, all the runners up did a fantastic job. You did a fantastic job kind of explaining what your thoughts were on each image. I appreciate that. And yeah, what a great way to kind of kick off the remainder of the week, right? Or move into the weekend, going into Friday, if you knowing that you were a runner up of this, and telling people about it, or that you were the winner. So this is great. So Eleanor Mango, once again, congratulations. And let me just read off our runners up names real quick, and then we'll shut it down. So Gabrielle Joseph, Odochi Awani, Ali Truman, Toby Soowale, Kimberly Coleman, Tyro Zenymba, Shakira Hunt, Marissa McDowell, Rita Harper, Andrea Bailey, and of course our grant winner, Eleanor Mingo.
Congrats.
So congrats everybody. All right. And we'll leave it right there. Thank you, Flickr, for supporting all this. And thank you, Genesis. And we'll see you next time. See you guys.
Everybody
Take
take
care,
care.
Genesis.